excited to be here. I hope everything will go smoothly. So I've had a chance to talk with Doug a little bit and get an idea of kind of the flow of this group and to get an idea. So hopefully it won't be, I won't bring any new kind of hiccups to the group. So we'll go from there. All right. And Doug, do you note the roll or do you call the roll?
I just noted. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. All right. Item 3 is appearances, and there's nobody here except the applicant at City Hall for appearances. And I'm not sure if you let anybody in that's here for an item that is not on the agenda.
I believe everybody that joined that's on the Zoom call is associated with one of the two. Please speak up if I'm mistaken.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any appearances, so we can move on to item 4, which is approval from the February 16th, 2023 minutes. Need a motion.
Motion to approve.
All right, and a second.
I'll second.
Was that? Yeah.
All right, you can take your pick, Doug. Any corrections or edits? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, minutes have been approved, and then we can move on to our first item, which is item 5. This is a public hearing by Chris and Sean Collette at 1106 Birchhaven Circle, requesting a variance from Monona Municipal Code of Ordinance Section 480-24D 4A. And this is regarding street yard setbacks for the purpose of building an addition to the existing property. This is case number Z001 2023. And Doug, do I have the applicant share their proposal?
Yes.
I will turn my camera and let people, let our applicants kind of share what they have.
Hello, everyone. My name's Chris, and this is my wife, Sean. New residents to the Monona area, a few years here. And we have applied and are here today in regards to, as mentioned, street yard setback, encroaching, it looks to be 7.3 feet towards the street within the setback. When we moved into our home, we planned to renovate and rebuild. As of about a week and a half ago, we have 2 twin boys who just arrived and a family of 5. So we're pretty cramped for space and in need of some major upgrades. We currently have a basement of sort under our bedrooms. The remainder is crawl space. The basement area is fairly small to the overall footprint. And given that, we were hoping to have some storage within our garage for anything home related, family related, thus the extending the home forward on the first floor into the street yard setback. I think that's about all I have for that. We are not encroaching towards the lakeside whatsoever. We'll maintain the footprint there and the side yard setbacks as well. The height restrictions will be well within that. The home would only improve the area and greatly benefit our family and honestly anyone surrounding our home area. We do have, I didn't submit at the time, I needed to make some copies, but we have I believe 5 signatures of neighbors who are all for our build, and had no opposition for that. So else you can think of.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of all I have to say on this at the moment. Yeah, if there's further questions that I can answer, be more than happy to.
Doug saying anything?
Everyone's reviewing documents.
Doug, is there anything else that the applicant normally would share at this point, or should we close that section?
I think they've kind of run through it. If certainly I encourage both applicants to kind of look at that matrix that's included in the packet. But I think the applicant ran through that, and unless they have anything else to add, but yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty typical. Thanks.
All right, well, we'll close the public hearing. If there's no one else to speak on the public hearing section, we can go on to item 6, which is the consideration of action for Chris and Sean Collette, 1106 Birchaven Circle for the variance regarding section 480, 24D, 4A, the street yard setbacks for the purpose of building an addition to the existing property. And this is case number Z1 2023. Doug, do you want to kick us off and we'll go from there?
Yes, thank you. So I just typically sort of introduce the application a little bit for anybody that's following along, and just sort of outline the reason why it did come to the zoning board. So this, as mentioned, is for a street yard setback variance. The applicant, it's around 5 or 6 feet, given the slope of the property line there on the street side for the addition, and then everything else, as mentioned, would comply with the zoning. So there is to be a second floor addition to the existing property, but all of those elements meet zoning for the heights, for the setbacks, all of those things. And as mentioned, no encroachment on the lake side. With this one, I did just want to point out something that was mentioned in the letter and sort of pertains to the ordinance as well. This is zoned single family, and there is an allowance within the single family district for averaging of the street yard setbacks between 2 intersecting streets. If more than 40% of properties have a distance that is other or it's something that is different than the 30-foot that would be typical. This one, if you look at the aerial map there, I think there's around 20 different properties that between the 2 intersecting streets. The policy typically for this is that would need to be surveyed, and that we couldn't use that sort of off of GIS maps or anything like that. Because it would be establishing a setback, we would need that distance to be defined. And so I did share that with the applicant. That is mentioned in the letter, but I did just want to point that out, that it does differ sort of with the curvature of the street. There are quite a lot of differing setbacks there along Birchaven, with no sort of typical, you may find in other locations 20 feet, 25 feet, a sort of established line. It really differs along this one, but that was the staff requirement, that we would need that to be surveyed, and basically each property would need to have that distance surveyed so we could verify that to establish that distance. So I have worked with the applicants, met a couple times, spoken and met to discuss the property, sort of the restrictions and elements of the zoning code, and this was the ultimate plan that was put forward. That's it for me. Thanks.
Doug, is this a similar process where where chair has historically called on each individual, or has it been more of if people have a item they want to bring up, that they just chime in?
It's a lot more conversational, I would say, than sort of each person. Yeah.
Okay, I'll open it up for anybody that would like us to start. Chris, now you get to be Chris number 1.
Hi, thanks. Yes, there are 2 Chris's in the plan commission, so I'm Chris number 2 over there. I was wondering, Doug, if you could perhaps shed a little light on this this situation where we have almost half of the homes on the south side of Birchaven Circle, which are already constructed within the street yard setback area. Is that because of their age, or have many of those properties come before the ZBA? Do we know?
So I would say that a lot of that would probably, I doubt each of them has a variance. Certainly in the 4 years that I've been here, there's been at least one other on Birch Haven, but I don't believe this southern portion where the applicant is located. I think some of that is owing to the sort of the curvature of the street that's there. I'm just pulling it up now. From memory, there's a decent right of way there as well. I don't believe there is a sidewalk in front, so those things can kind of play into this as well. But just kind of with the angle, you can see a little bit here with the fact that the setbacks are not equal on either side of the property, that there is about a foot of difference. You can see that gets more extreme certainly as you head east as well. So some of those are very close, certainly, and then others are a little bit more setback as you would maybe expect on the street yard. But certainly the eastern portion of Birch Haven that would be part of that calculation, you know, there's pretty, some of those properties are located pretty close to the street yard.
Thank you.
So Doug, that 48% that the applicants mentioned, that we can't take that into consideration because that has to be actually surveyed. Is that what you were saying?
No, it was something that I couldn't take in administratively and sort of
Oh.
caused it to come here, but that can certainly be something that is considered as part of this.
Okay, thank you.
That's good news. Okay.
Mhm. Let's see. Sorry, I've just. Chris and Sean, I have a question for you. You've put you're putting a second level on your property. I know we don't have to consider that, it's already approved, but is that true?
Yes, there'll be a second level. Right now we have, our home is basically a split level. Our bedrooms are a half floor up. They have, and then basement beneath, and then on the lake side, you walk down 6 steps to the, we'll call it the lower floor, which is at grade, at ground level. We would have a second story above our bedrooms, correct?
And just have to ask, there isn't any way you could add storage on the second level, or would you be over the zoning? I'm not sure, but.
So the way our plans are, so in reference to having a second floor over our bedrooms, that's our existing bedrooms, but with the second story, it would be master bedroom, bedroom 1 and bedroom 2 for our for 2 children, and then a laundry area, master bath, so everything on that floor.
Share a room and then for the children.
Okay, yeah, so all of the bedrooms will be on the second floor with master bathroom with the kids' bathroom. So the space is pretty limited up there for any storage. And then as far as attic storage, we would probably, that wouldn't be possible because of the height restrictions. And
Okay, yeah,
accessibility would be pretty tough
Okay.
for attic storage up there.
thank you.
Mhm.
Any other comments that people have? Any questions for the applicant?
Doug, do we know if this lot is particularly narrow? We have a lot of narrow lots in Monona, and I know that sometimes is a consideration.
Doug, you're on mute.
Gets the best of us. The lot, I'm just measuring it now. I believe, yeah, right around 50 feet in width. That's pretty narrow. I'd say it's comparable to some of the adjacent properties. There are a couple there that have maybe combined or split that maybe get sort of the 75 instead of the 50. 50 is more on the narrow side, though. I would say more of a typical lot, maybe 60. We've seen some 40s, some 50s on Tony Awatha and in this area, but it is fairly narrow. Yeah, especially counting 7 feet side yards on either side. You know, it does choke down the buildable.
And a question for the applicants, to add more storage was, is it feasible to do like a shed or an auxiliary building?
I don't think that would be feasible for us. And as far as storage, ideally we'd like to have it heated, fully weatherproof on a foundation. I'm not really sure if that would function. To be detached from the house on the lakeside, I think would definitely obstruct views of neighbors, and there'd probably be some opposition there. As well as, you know, if we had that, the only other option would be in the front yard, the street side yard.
And if I can jump in, both of those, street yard forward of the house, detached storage, or lakeside would both require a variance as well. Neither would be allowed.
So the building, yeah, the envelope wouldn't allow the auxiliary building in the, because it would have to be in the shore yard.
Correct.
And Doug, wouldn't it be true that if it was in the shore yard, that would also need a variance?
Yes, that's correct.
And the variance would likely be much more challenging regarding the public interest aspect because of the views of the neighbors.
Yes, yeah, the only accessory structures in shore yard would be boathouses, shelters, and piers. So we have had applicants in the past come through for storage sheds and things in the shore yard that have necessitated and required a variance.
Chris and Sean, can you just tell us a little bit about what would happen with all the things that would go in storage if you didn't have this extra room to store whatever you're going to store in there? What would you do with those things?
Well,
Where would you put them?
Right now, we have a temporary storage container in our front yard. I saw it. That I had contacted the city of Monona, and they said it would be permitted temporarily. So I guess we would have to have a very limited items for ourselves and our children, and holiday decor, and recreational items. Yeah, basically anything that was involved with everyday life would be, yeah, we'd have to really think that through. It'd be tough. Again, yeah,
Thank
everything
you.
right now is in a storage container out front on the street side.
A question I have, and it's a little bit easier, I'm here in person, but the question I have is, I know that with the addition on the garage side, that there's, or the front addition, the proposal of adding some additional crawl space, but not additional basement space. Has there been any exploration of additional basement space versus crawl space?
The water table is a major factor with basements. I'm extremely surprised that ours doesn't leak as we speak, because both of our neighbors do. So we have explored those options, and it would be exponentially not feasible. And then the risk of flooding would be a major factor. We also had soil tests done, and There's fairly unstable soils beneath, so we would like to maintain the existing foundation that has been there since, I'm not sure, maybe the 60s or give or take. And then mainly add the foundation under the garage, which couldn't have crawl space. And yeah, there's basically no additional room for that or possibility.
I'm struggling just a little bit, not a lot, on the hardship consideration, given that storage or growing family needs isn't really allowed by state statute as a reason.
Might be
I
the
could-
wrong terminology, I guess, that I used, but
Mhm.
sorry.
I think I can get there, but I mean, certainly you have a unique lot. It's 50 feet wide is not a very wide lot. It might be typical for lots along the lake, but it is not a very wide lot. I walked over by your property a week or so ago. Did you take the garage down already?
Yes, I pulled a permit right after we moved in and demoed the garage. It had a pond on it and trees growing on top, so figured in everyone's best interest would be just to remove that. The foundation is still there, but it's very unstable and crumbling.
I mean, certainly having, the fact that it's ironic, the fact that it's okay for you to have a temporary storage container in your driveway or wherever it is, but you're having to come to us to get a approval to, encroach 5 to 6 feet into the front yard setback. I mean, I can get to the unique physical property limitations and the no harm to the public interest. Anybody want to help me on the unique hardship if someone's in agreement with me?
I may have missed this, but how many bedrooms do you have, or how many square feet is the house right now?
The existing finished square feet. I don't have that information on me. I did provide, I think I provided the floor plans of our existing home. That could be my house, 1419 finished, I think, or I wonder how that is. Let's see.
Yeah, area, but that sure seems like maybe it's just not one floor.
Yeah, roughly, let's say 1400 square feet.
Hey Doug, this is Win Davies. Can I add some information? I can? Okay. I did some calculations, Diane, on the square footages. It looks like somewhere there they would be adding to the existing house and garage about 500 150 square feet approximately to the total dwelling. If that makes any difference. I was curious on how much square footage they were adding to the house, right, from the existing conditions. So that's what I come up with. If that helps. Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, if we're allowed to use as a advisory committee, the 48% that I had asked earlier. I mean, my guess is those folks that have encroached on the street side or the street setbacks were probably for the same reason. And, you know, just the street yard setback in that area. I mean, there isn't a lot of depth. Because your house has to be so narrow, it needs to have some depth to it. I just feel like it's the unnecessary hardship. It might not be, you know, that you have a growing family, but that you just don't have any space for anything and having to put your things in a storage container or just get rid of things and not, you know, be able to have what most people have, whatever that may be, or potentially maybe leaving things out in the elements. I don't know if that qualifies as a unnecessary hardship. That's the reason that I would use. Obviously, there's no harm to the public interest. You have 5 neighbors that signed on to something. I haven't seen the document, but you stated that you have that.
Yes. Yes, we reviewed plans with each of our neighbors on all sides and across the street. And all were for the improvements and such.
And putting in a shed or something else, you know, wouldn't be approved anyway and would be probably more egregious to neighbors than adding 6 feet or so to the front in the driveway.
I have a quick question. So the garage isn't there anymore. In order to not have to get a variance, you would have to build the exact same garage?
I believe so, yes.
So kind of looking at, I don't know, I mean, it seems like a garage is a reasonable thing for a family to have. And I mean, we're looking more at how tall the garage is, I guess. I mean, they need a garage. I don't know.
Are
if
you
that-
saying to build up
Yeah.
as
the only
opposed
reason-
to deep?
No, that they have to put they need a garage again. And that garage didn't look like rebuilding it the same way it was really a reasonable thing to do, because it would probably have some of the same situations. So they redesigned the garage. I guess I'm putting more emphasis on that it's an unnecessary hardship because we're prohibiting them from having a garage, or the variance would.
I mean, I would say that a desire for a larger garage is specifically not grounds for a variance. And I mean, doesn't meet the unique physical property limitation checkbox, because that's what that is. Growing family, elderly parents desire for a larger garage. We've denied applicants in the past for those specific reasons for a request for a variance.
I think one part that might be unique here, and I'm not sure, and again, I'm newer to this group, but I think because of the narrow lot line and because of the maintaining all the other setbacks with side yard and shore yard, that this is a very like modest addition to modernize the whole home, to make it a livable space in the garage is actually a pretty modest rebuild, with the encroachment on the street yard that is in the same kind of level of encroachment as the neighborhood, even though we don't have the surveyed kind of spots along that stretch. And if I look, Doug, if I have it correctly, when I look at this, at least 2 feet of that encroachment is overhang, not building footprint, correct? So we're looking at even less of an encroachment for foundation.
I would have to confirm. So they are allowed. You are allowed 2.5 feet of overhang. I would need to confirm if that was included within the footprint, or typically that would not be shown, and would just be on the cross section that you'll be able to see that.
And given Wynn's background, my guess is you could probably take a look and verify it.
Yeah, typically when you do a foundation plan, site plan, or plot plan, it's always goes to the foundation of the house, not the overhangs. And like Doug mentioned, overhang is not typically counted in the building envelope in those dimensions. So that would, right, also be beyond that line. So the foundation, if they're asking for, let's just say, for example, 7 feet, that's to the foundation. And if you're thinking about, wow, okay, I have another 2-foot overhang, then that 2 foot then also is in, well, right, it's in air, but it's not specific to that. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now where I caught it. It looks like it was on one of the sheets. I saw the additional 2 foot, but I do see, yeah, it is the full wall up, not the overhang, which is separate. Thanks.
Yeah, that in some cases, right, when you have houses that are in very, very tight neighborhoods, like uptown, and you look down between those 2 houses and you're like, oh my gosh, it looks like they're touching, right?
Yeah.
The properties, the foundations are still correctly on the property, but some of those overhangs of the houses get so close. Sometimes there can be a little bit of animosity, right? I think it's a safety hazard, actually, to be honest, when they don't include overhangs because of like fire, right? That's what I'd think about in that sense. I would say Diane mentioned the width of the lot is definitely a consideration. And you can only build so wide and try to stay within those setbacks. I think they're doing a good job of doing that. So
I think, you mentioned in your, Chris and Sean, you mentioned in your application materials that, one of your options would be to eliminate a bedroom if this didn't get approved. So you'd be going from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom home. There's my unnecessary hardship. So I'm going to make a motion. I motion to approve the unnecessary hardship being that it's going from a 3 to a 2-bedroom is not an option. Having temporary storage is not a long-term solution in your driveway. Unique property limitation, it is a narrow lake lot, 50 feet wide. No room to go in any direction really without needing a variance. And there's no harm to the public interest because you do have neighborhood support, written neighborhood support.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any other questions or discussion?
I would just like to say that, you know, I feel like whenever someone's on the water, they need to be given some consideration, because most people would do this in their backyard. And in this case, the backyard is waterfront land. And so that's the last thing we want someone having to do. And really it's almost impossible to do, especially in this case. So anyways, I'm just kind of rambling on, but that's one of the reasons I seconded this motion.
Any other questions or comments from the group?
I would just make a comment that I, you know, when we look at the short-term and long-term cumulative effects on the property, you know, I forget who said it, but someone mentioned this is, you know, a modest increase in the size of the home. And I think that one of the purposes of the zoning restriction is to make sure we don't have houses that are monstrosities. And certainly they're not building that. I think their neighbor is a 2-story, it looks like, as well. You know, I think the unique physical property limitations, I think, have been well set forth. The curvature of the street. We haven't talked about how far back the meander line is, so that might be a factor too. But I think that when we look at the short and long-term cumulative effects, and whether or not it's going to be a desirable property in future years, I think that's definitely consideration as well.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions from the applicants?
No, it sounds like,
We'll take a vote, but just want to make sure that
Yeah,
you're
no
clear on
question.
everything that you heard so far.
Yeah.
All right. All right, all those in favor of the motion as proposed, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the motion has carried. And you should be able to work with Doug for any follow-up needed.
sounds great. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you for everyone's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will close item 6, move on to item 7, which is public hearing. This is from Tina and Kevin Metcalf, represented by Hart de Noble Builders at 1119 Pocahontas Drive, and are requesting a variance for the Monona Code 480 24D4A, street yard setbacks, and the ordinance 4880 24D4D, the shore yard setbacks, for the purpose of building a new single-family home and attached garage on the property. This is case number 2/2023. And
Hi, good evening.
hey, Kevin.
Hi, so my name is Kevin Metcalf. I'm a long-term resident, Monona resident, I think going on 53 years actually this August. So been around for a long time, but my wife and I have purchased a lot on Pocahontas, 1119 Pocahontas Drive, and have gone through some plans. We bought it from Travis Ganser. So this board has seen this lot before. There were 3 zoning requests granted. There was 4 requested, but 3 that were granted. And we're actually back to, we made some changes, did a different house plan, different footprint. So we're coming back to the zoning board for similar approvals. We're only actually asking for 2. We're asking for our shoreline setback. We're actually better than what was approved in previous meetings by a foot. And we're well within the average setback of the homes that are on Pocahontas. We're also asking for a street yard setback, which was similar to what was approved in the past. We're encroaching a little bit further onto the street, as opposed to the side yard setback that was approved in previous meetings. We are in compliance with our side yard setbacks with our plan, where he wasn't, or the previous applicant wasn't. And that resulted in us actually encroaching just a few feet on the street yard setback. So I can pass that off to Hart de Noble. They can go through some of the specifics on that. basically our hardship is a non-conforming lot. If you were to follow the zoning setbacks as per code, you would basically have about a shoebox for a home with a 30-foot setback on the street side, as well as the setback for the meander line. Our side yard setbacks are in compliance, so that's not an issue. And we're looking to build a modern home, and a lot of these codes, as was mentioned earlier, with lake lots, this is just a very unique lot with its curvature of the street on the front side. So I've also gone and met with my neighbors. So I have 9 signatures from my neighbors, both on either side of me across the street that are affected in any way by this particular lot. And including, I went across the channel and just made sure that my neighbors across the channel would not have any issue regarding this particular request. So I can pass that off to Hart de Noble, and they can bring up some of the plans and go through some of the details.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew. I work for Hart de Noble. I'm one of the designers. So if it's all right, I'm going to share my screen and kind of go through a little more detail. Second. Doug, do you think you'd be able to enable the screen sharing?
Just made you co-host, so you should be able to do that now.
Perfect. Thank you. Can everyone see this? Correct. Okay, perfect. So as Kevin mentioned, this is our proposed house. Would be the dashed hash line there is the proposed house, along with the proposed attached garage. This red line here was the original foundation that was there and currently has been taken down. But to kind of reiterate what Kevin was talking about, we have basically made this line right here parallel to the side yard setback. So with where Mr. Ganser had his house, he was 4 feet from here, where we are now not encroaching in the side yard setback. But by doing so, it moved us a couple feet closer to the street yard setback. So we thought, as being good neighbors, that we would stay away from the side yard setback. Kevin also mentioned the meander line or the shore yard setback. We are marginally further away than the Ganser plan that was approved. I think Kevin might have mentioned a foot. I think he was talking over here. I think over here it's just a couple inches, but nonetheless still further away. And just to kind of reiterate what has already been stated, this lot really poses some unique challenges with the shape. So as you can see, this line right here, being the street yard setback, if you were to go 30 feet in, we'd be well within here. And with this meander line, if we were to follow that setback, we'd be in here somewhere. So we really wouldn't have a footprint that you could really build a house with that. So following along with what Mr. Ganser had approved originally, we have a little different footprint and orientation of the house, but we've tried to make things appropriate for the neighbors and for the city of Monona. So I don't know if Jason wants to say a few words, but I just wanted to show that. And I also, here's the document of the neighbors and their signatures, just so everyone can see that. I don't know if it was submitted or not, but
I emailed it to Doug, so it could go out to the committee if necessary.
Perfect. Okay. And these are the elevations with the footprint of the house. So
the thing what's unique here is I think the one variance that wasn't approved was he called it a storm shelter, but it was basically a basement, which isn't allowed here. So this being a 4-bedroom home would require us to have storage
Yep.
as mentioned. So that was the other, piece for this, a modern home without a basement. We're basically adding storage to our first and second level for everything from, Christmas ornaments to clothing to whatever else that you accumulate over the 50 years that we've been around in Monona. So we're hoping that based on the history of this particular lot, the uniqueness of this lot and the hardships that it causes, that the committee can find a reason to approve and allow us to relocate to Belle Isle.
So here's the cross section, kind of reiterating what Kevin was saying. Slab on grade with, frost walls, but so we're not going to have any crawl space or any utilization of this lower level here.
I'll just chime in here, guys. This is Jason Franzen, Hart Noble Builders. I think Kevin and Andrew have pretty much touched on all the key points. I think it's just worth noting, obviously, another improvement that I believe our office, along with the Metcalfs, have done is we've got an attached garage where the previous applicant that you guys had approved had a detached garage. So in the public interest, of course, it's always nicer if you can keep all of the dwelling and structures combined together. And we were very sensitive to the setbacks. Where we comply on the side yard, which the previous approvals for the variance, it had given approval to go closer, which we're moving away from. And then I think, Doug, if you can just clarify as well, the only reason that we do need that lakeside or shoreland side variance would be because we altered the plans just slightly, right? Because we're actually further away from what you guys had already approved.
That's correct. So variances do run with the land. So even though ownership has changed, the applicant would still be entitled to the variance as approved previously. But given there was an expansion of this, the footprint of the effectively the width of the property facing the channel, that's greater. The footprint of the house has increased. Yes, it is further back, but it's still within the setback distance. So it was a sort of a expansion of the variance, if you will, which necessitated that. But as mentioned, it is not encroaching any closer than was previously approved.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. And I may have been in our submittal packet, but of course, the hardship, just to kind of reiterate, it's in your variances and definitions would be the letter A, where it talks about the hardship or difficulty peculiar to the zoning parcel in question and different from that of other parcels, not one which affects all parcels similarly. Generally, hardship arises because of the unusual shape, topography, or elevation of a parcel because of the property was created before passage of the zoning ordinance. And basically, you can see that it almost has a continuous arc along 1/3 of the entire lot. So that would be where the hardship kind of comes in. It's a very unique lot to pull setback distances from.
I think that would conclude our
Yeah, I
presentation.
was say the same thing. So.
All right, we can close 7 and move on to 8, which is the consideration of action regarding Tina and Kevin Metcalfs, represented by Hart Noble Builders at 1119 Pocahontas Drive. That's a variance from the Code of Ordinance 4824D4A. That's the street yard setbacks, and the ordinance 48024D4D, which is the shore yard setbacks for the purpose of building a new single-family home and attached garage on the property. And this is case 2-2023. Doug.
Thank you. So I already mentioned the first element about, obviously this has come through previously. I think the materials did include, certainly the paper materials included quite a bit of information about the previously approved variance. And I think most of the members here were there during that time as well. The other thing I would just point out, with regard to timing of this application, is that there are floodplain considerations for this that I've been working with the applicant on. They're aware of those, and it's really those elements, the engineering of those and sort of the calculations and such would occur after any potential variance is approved. So I just wanted to point that out, that there may be some elements that sort of are incorporated for that accommodate the floodplain. The applicant's aware of that, and it's again similar process to how Mr. Gans's application was considered back in 2019. But just wanted to make you all aware that that is still to be determined. But I know that work is going on in the background. But certainly the applicant was looking to sort of have the variance side of things addressed prior to any full calculations for that. That's it from me. Thanks.
All right, who would like to go first?
So what is the street yard setback here on this?
So the street yard setback would be 30 feet, 30,
Okay.
from the property line. And
Okay.
in an instance like this with the curvature, you would really just follow it. You would have a setback line that would sort of follow the curvature of the road.
And with a lot like this, if you follow the curvature and had a 30-foot setback, am I right in thinking that the buildable envelope would be fairly small?
Yes, that's correct. So you'd have the 7 feet side yard running, I believe, north-south, the curvature for the street yard, and then the meander line. So you would have, it would effectively be the same outline, that almost a pie shape type outline that the lot is, with the 50-foot meander line, the 30-foot street yard, and the 7-foot side yard. So it would be a much smaller buildable envelope, sort of mimicking the outline of the existing parcel.
This is Randy Birchfield. I'm the neighbor that's most impacted by the new build on there, and I just wanted to attend the meeting to at least let you know where I'm coming from on this. Kevin and I have talked on what he wants to do. For all practical purposes, it's an unbuildable lot without the variances. So something has to give in order to be able to put any kind of structure that could support a house on there. I support the variances that he's going after. Doug, to your point, there are considerations and concerns about the floodplain, and obviously up till now, that's been the lowest property on the island. Once Kevin starts building, unfortunately, I think I will be the lowest property on the island. So Kevin and I have talked a little bit about that, but obviously there need to be some considerations about water management, stormwater management, making sure that we're not creating another hazard for adjacent neighbors as well.
Randy, I apologize that I didn't ask during the public hearing section. So thank you for chiming in now. Typically, I would have done that during the public hearing section. So thanks for chiming in, and I apologize for not calling on you sooner.
So sorry about that. I wasn't sure when the timing was there. I apologize.
No worries, no worries. We'll chalk it up to me being new this time.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know what everyone else thinks. I mean, I think the unique physical property limitation is pretty much a no-brainer on this one, and it kind of comes down to unnecessary hardship. I wasn't proactive enough to look at the prior application to see what the grounds were under the unnecessary hardship, or if I was involved, and I assume I was, and how I voted beforehand. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on hardship. My only thought would be that there's zoning restrictions on that property makes it fairly difficult to build anything, at least anything that is a more modern and desirable structure on that particular lot. I'd say they've taken some mindful steps to try to move the house away further from the water, which is probably a lofty goal, and being mindful of the side yard setbacks as well. Those are my just immediate off the cuff thoughts.
Well, I did read the thing, and I actually was the one that moved to approve it in 2019, and the reasoning was that conforming to the variance or to the zoning codes would have been an unnecessary burden. And looking at, I didn't have to go look at this property because I remembered it because it's just one of those that stands out. Because I remember going there thinking, what are you going to build on this little piece of land? And it's like the only thing that you could build would be a tiny house, to be in compliance. So, I mean, I think the unnecessary hardship would be, it's just an unnecessary burden to try to conform. I mean, really, if the city was going to force that, you might as well just have the city take it back. That little piece of land, because no one would be able to build anything on it.
Yeah, it's that effect on the property, right? The cumulative property. If a more modern zoning ordinance was to be strictly placed on that property, what could you do with it? Who would want it?
I have a feeling that there's going to be less questions, so I'll kind of throw it out there right now. Is anybody willing to make a motion? Oh, hang on.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry, I do actually have some questions, Brian. This is probably directed toward Hart to Noble. On their plans I don't know if they can bring back up and screen share the site plan. That might be helpful for everyone. Is that possible?
Can everyone see this?
Yeah, that's not the one. That's
That's the answers.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. So my concern is, I think it was interesting. The neighbor had mentioned about water management. And I think this does kind of come into play with, our committee, that where does our responsibilities lie of all these intricate things that if we're signing off on and approving structures that have consequences with water management and such, how does that affect the overall big picture, right, down the road, those things, and what does that do for other properties that are close to, and or right when we're on a lake property, what does that do to water management going toward the lake? It has to go someplace. So what I'd like to know is, I see you have the impervious surface calculations on here, and that's great. But I am concerned about, I see proposed patio and the proposed driveway. And I'd like to know if those calculations are in those calculations and how do we prove that?
Yeah, I could provide an itemized list of the calculations. I don't have it. I don't have the itemized, how I got exactly the total surface.
Yeah.
But I can certainly provide that if need be.
I mean, I think that's important to have at this juncture. As the board, as the committee, sidewalks count, right? Every hard surface counts.
Yeah, and those are included in the total surface. So it'd be the footprint and the garage plus the proposed driveway and the proposed patio. But you can see the driveway right here. This is the lot line. This chunk isn't going to be included in that.
Nope, I understand. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
Part of the thing too is that I've seen this before, is that someone will we just talked about overhangs and foundation. It is about roof coverage, right? It is roof coverage of that space, not foundation. So if we have a 3-foot overhang, that does count, right, as space. So I am concerned about that as a board member and what those calculations come out to be, especially in a lot of this size, right? And when we're going to be approving, or asking to be improved in a lot of this size, and the house is non-conforming, how big is big enough? So I guess I just want to put that out there for the committee to think about in that sense, about pervious and non-pervious surfaces and water management, and what happens right down the road.
And
Andrew, I just wanted to pipe in. This is Jason Franzen again here. Can you guys, and maybe Doug, this might also be a question for you. Can you guys just confirm, I believe on lots under 10,000 square feet, you're allowed up to 70% impervious coverage?
That's correct.
Okay. And on the lot coverage calculation, which, was just the home, we're at 38.3. I believe that maximum number is 40%.
Correct.
And then I know on the previous application, you guys talked about impervious coverage. And I thought I heard in that earlier tonight that typically on almost every municipality, the impervious coverage is only calculated by the foundation footprint and not including roof overhangs. Most building inspection departments will take the foundation footprint as the impervious. I'm just curious. I know we're still going to be, regardless of how you calculate this, we're well under the 70% coverage, no matter what. But that would be good for Andrew to know. But I know, generally speaking, every municipality we work in, they calculate from the foundation in for impervious calculations, not roof overhangs or asphalt.
That is typically how I have done this in the past. And I will say, just for the board's information, very, very few. The lot coverage is a little trickier, especially on smaller lots, because that does not scale with the size of the lot. The impervious, there is a provision for under 10,000 and over 10,000. But normally, certainly for the impervious calculation, there's so much extra room there, that there are very few that are getting towards that 65 or 70%, whichever it may be, depending on the size of the lot. It is typically foundation and footprint that is being used, rather than accounting for, let's say, a 2.5 foot overhang in addition, even if it's running the length of the building. It is going to be the footprint.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify that, because that is typically how virtually everywhere we've ever worked calculates it. So when Andrew clarifies, I just want to make sure that the numbers are accurate. So these numbers then would be accurate and wouldn't change.
Yeah, this does not include the overhangs. This is the footprint. Yep.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Win.
And if I can just jump in as well, just it is a little bit different here. We don't have many that come through that are in the floodplain like this. So I believe much of this is located in what we call the flood storage district, which is an area that is expected to be, if there were to be a 100-year flood, there would be water that would be stored there. The impact of development within that district is that there can't be a net increase in the regional floodwaters, such that water would be displaced and go to what would otherwise be dry land, for example. So that is really the calculation that is going to be done, and that is sort of falls within the floodplain ordinance specifically. So that's kind of the next step. If the variance does go through tonight, that it would be kind of that engineering calculation. I'm not sure exactly how the applicant is planning to do that, but in others, in this type of instance where, let's say, much of the lot is within that flood storage district, you may see the property raised a couple feet and sort of having a clear, crushed stone or something beneath it, such that the water levels could still come in. The house would still be, stay dry, but that could work. If you have more room, maybe you could actually create a depression that would allow for storage. You know, if you were going to fill one area, you could have a depression elsewhere. I think with this one, it's actually quite challenging with there's not much room to get that, you know, additional credit. So I think that will probably be the direction that this goes, but definitely from the perspective of the neighbor and from sort of the impact to adjacent properties, this is going to be regulated with the floodplain ordinance, which, you know, that's a FEMA requirement, and that will certainly be scrutinized at potential next steps.
Gwen, did you have some additional questions?
No, I was good. Thanks for that clarification, by the way, about the overhang. Sometimes it's hard to look at the square footage when you don't know quite where that shoreline and the right water line meet. But yeah, that made sense. So thank you.
And is there anybody willing to put forward a motion?
I would move to approve based upon all the reasoning we said before in the other ordinance, and in case it wasn't said, that this short-term, long-term cumulative effects is the kind of the heart of this. It's a virtually unbuildable lot without an ordinance, because the building envelope is so slow, because the curvature of this lot, it being in the floodplain also, and with some of the offsets, the setbacks make it particularly challenging in a small building envelope. I think it doesn't do any harm to the public interest. And for those reasons, I would motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any additional comments? Doug?
Can I just jump in? One thing, given this and given the potential floodplain implications, the city attorney did advise just if the board is comfortable giving a little bit of scope here. I know the plans show 29, just under 30 feet in height, for example. If there were to be, let's say, a foot or two of height that still remains within the 35, which would be the city ordinance limit, but just for the variance, if there were to be acknowledgement of the floodplain elements or something like that there be, you know, some discretion for some modifications, slight modifications to accommodate floodplain. That was something that was suggested, just as some, you know, to not be so black and white that if there is a little bit of need for that, I'm not sure if there is, but if that's something the board would be comfortable with considering as well.
And Doug, you're really looking for like slight changes that would still fall within our height restriction.
Yes, but just so you know, that would be only attributable to floodplain management, but not sort of a you know, a change order or something to the property, but simply, you know, to accommodate the floodplain challenges.
Does the motioner and the second accept that friendly adjustment?
I do. I think it's a really practical suggestion.
I do.
Wonderful. Thanks. All right. Any other questions or comments from the group? How about from the applicant? Any questions before we move forward with the vote?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion proposed, say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate all your help. And Doug, thank you, especially to you with all your guidance and advice and help along the way. We'll be in touch.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Have a good night.
Guys.
All right, and on item 9, which is our next meeting date, it looks like June and July. And Doug, are we anticipating needing both those?
Definitely June. I have an application that I've received. So again, I thank the board for moving the meeting a week. So it will be a pretty quick turnaround here, meeting again June 15th. But I do have an application in place. So expecting that to go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. And Doug or others, any updates on DEI aspects?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update from the planning department. We've been working with the city as a whole has been working with Nehemiah Center and going through some diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and really looking sort of department by department as to things that can be implemented. There are some bigger things that the chair is aware of from plan commission that we've been looking at, sort of from a housing elements and just getting some more data to really understand sort of what is going on in the city and really to help inform decision making. But also on a smaller level, one thing that we've done is look into sort of the noticing of our plan commission items. For example, we have a lot of legal requirements that involve, notices in the newspaper, mailings, things like that. But one thing that we are soon to be rolling out, we actually have the signs now, is signage similar to what you see at City of Madison, of a public hearing notice that would be put on the site, on the location of an application coming through. So at this point, just from a sheer volume of signs, this will just be for those that we would be sending notices out, typically with letters and things like that. But anything such as a new construction, new apartment units, anything like that, there's going to be a yard sign there. So anybody that's walking by is going to be able to see that, know how they can join a meeting, send comments, anything like that. Bright yellow yard signs that will have that. So people will know, and people will be aware, proximate neighbors, folks walking dogs, things like that, they'll be able to see that. So a simple improvement, but we're hoping it will be welcomed. Thanks.
That's wonderful to hear, Doug.
Thanks.
All right, any updates or discussion regarding sustainability efforts that you have for the group?
Nothing from staff.
All right. And need a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, and a second.
Second.
All right, Doug, take your pick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed. All right, thanks, everybody. And we'll see you in a few weeks.